All right, here we are recording. I get my own tech all lined up. I see a couple people still coming in from the room, and here is our PowerPoint. Excellent. Well, everybody, welcome. We're so happy to have you here today. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really appreciate it. And this is our third and final session in this series that we kicked off back in June. We've been calling it the Summer of Collective Learning about the Capital Region Community Economic Resilience Fund. And my name is Evan Schmidt. I'm the CEO of Valley Vision. We serve as the convener and backbone support for the CERF program. And I'm really excited with this kind of final webinar in our series. And I think we can go to the next slide to talk a little bit about not only where we've already been, but what we're going to be doing today. So I want to walk you through a little bit about what the summer has been and kind of why we've approached it by having this time together for us all to learn together. And so through the CERF program, we have the opportunity as an 8-county region to advance a really ambitious vision around inclusive economic development and growth. And as we've been, really just since the beginning of the summer working on launching this program, one piece that's really important for this big coalition that we have that's all coming together around CERF is to learn about what do we mean by inclusive economic development. So in all the actions that we do together over the next year, we're all kind of coming together from the same place. And so we started in June when we had a webinar with guest speaker, Professor Manuel Pastor, really talking about what is inclusive economic development? What does that really look like? He dove into the demographics of our region and talked about kind of some of the major values and tenets behind inclusive economic development. And he kind of anchored that to his book, Solidarity Economics, and talked about what those values are and how we can jump into action with those in mind. The second meeting we had was in July, and that was really to get grounded in what does a CERF program look like? What does a successful inclusive economic development program look like? And so we brought in speakers from regions across California, including our own region, those who had been awarded pilot program funds through the CERF program. So these are programs that are just getting off the ground, but have already been recognized by the state as those types of programs that really embody, what they're trying to achieve with the CERF program. And finally, that brings us to today. So the purpose of today's webinar is to continue on our track of learning. And I'm really excited that we're going to be focused on the Salinas Inclusive Economic Development Initiative as kind of the learning part of our meeting today together. And we're going to get to see one of these coalitions and one of these big initiatives in action and learn more about, what they've been going through, what their experiences are, what their learnings are, and really focus on what can we learn from that as we embark upon this work. Second, we want to kind of give you an update about things that are going on, including really focusing on our sub-regional hubs, which are going to be a really important center of gravity for this program moving forward. And then finally, we want to, provide all the important updates about the program. And I really want to emphasize, please stay with us today for the whole session, because we have some really important updates about the program, both about the Capital Region program and some of the next big steps and opportunities to engage, as well as about the statewide program itself, which is just on the brink of releasing some new information around what comes next after our CERF planning phase. So important updates to come. Please stay tuned for those. And we're going to be ending our meeting today around 4:30. So that is where we are today. I want to note that we'll be sharing the recording and the materials following the webinar. And let's go to the next slide to just really set the context about what is CERF, what are we trying to do here, and make sure that we're all kind of on the same page as we move forward with our program today. So CERF program, it's a statewide program focused on regional inclusive economic development. And some of the key objectives of the CERF program are to create these regional roadmaps for economic development. And these efforts really should prioritize the creation of accessible, high-quality jobs in sustainable industries. And so that's kind of the final product as we go through the planning phase, which is where we are now, and we get to the end in about a year from now. Hopefully, we'll have this regional roadmap that shows us where we need to invest for inclusive economic development. In terms of targeting what the projects are, it's really important that the projects that we all identify together have really strong criteria around equity, job quality, and sustainability. And by sustainability, really thinking about how are we reacting to this emerging low carbon economy and making sure we're planning for the future in that way by creating inclusive pathways and equitable outcomes when we think about building that new economy in California. And then finally, we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to align other investments. So there is implementation funds that are attached to the SERF program, but we want to think much bigger than that. So we want to end up with this roadmap that helps us be successful in getting investments from the state, from federal sources and others in order to really maximize our success in the capital region. Next slide, please. All right, and an important part of how we get to this roadmap for inclusive economic development is doing it together, doing it as a collaborative. So many of you who are here today, I hope all of you have signed on to the SERF collaborative. So you're a part of this group of people, this collaborative of people. It's over 130 of us that are making up this governance structure. And the purpose of this collaborative is really to create a co-owned vision. And one of the things we've been doing as the backbone support is working on setting up all those structures so that we'll be able to do this work together, to do community engagement together, to create our project priorities together. The visual might be a little small on your screen, but one of the main organizing structures around this is by sub-regional hubs. So this is the capital region is an 8-county region. It's a very vast geography, and we want to make sure we're breaking it up into pieces where people actually have a voice and people can actually surface issues that are going on at the local level. So we're going to talk more about that later today, but that's a really important part of our governance structure. And then if you see underneath the collaborative, which is really the main body for SERF, you see the Leadership Council. This is a diverse and representative body that helps advance decisions. It's not formed yet. I'm going to tell you more about that later today. And then underneath there, you see Valley Vision. We're the backbone support, the regional convener, the hub for this collaborative structure, and we carry the shared vision and we carry the shared values into all the work that we do. And then you see on the sides, you've got training, research, resource center, you've got communication and exchange network. And that's part of the purpose of these webinars is to have that learning and exchange. And I also want to acknowledge as we kind of come to an end of this learning series, it's been a lot of kind of one-way communications out to you. And I really have a huge appetite now for really engaging with everybody and creating opportunities for people to give their own input, to really start to co-design and co-build together. So as we've been doing these learning series, we've also been working on all the systems to support that level of engagement. And we're going to have some updates around what that's going to look like this fall. Next slide, please. Okay, awesome. Well, I am going to turn it over to one of our key partners in this work so far from Community Strong Strategies, Richard Dana, and he's going to bring us to the next item on our agenda, and we're going to get into it with our really exciting panel to hear about what's going on in Salinas. Thanks, Richard.
Stefan. Yeah, I'm really excited to present for you or introduce for you the Salinas Inclusive Economic Development Initiative. As Evan said, we are entering our new phase of the SERF program planning piece for the capital region. We're going to be in person doing a lot of co-building, and they've had a lot of experience already in this work. The Salinas Inclusive Economic Development Initiative includes 9 different organizations and partners that are working together to build an inclusive, equitable, economic economy for families in the Salinas Valley. They are funded by a grant through the Irvine Foundation in partnership with the Community Foundation of Monterey. And they've really taken this initiative to the ground level in Salinas. I think what you're going to hear today is a lot of process, learning, and realization of what it really takes to build out an inclusive economy, where folks are ready, where they're not, and a learning process that's really been undertaken. This is crucial for us as we walk into this next phase of our work. Slide, please. So I'm really excited to introduce Barbara. We lost your picture. I'm really excited to introduce the three panelists. I'm going to pass it to Ken Smith here, who is the project manager. And Ken has been the key lead for communication and for really coordination of the effort in Salinas. Ken, I'm excited to welcome you. We're going to drop down our slides and let you lift up your slides while you introduce your team. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm gonna let me get my slideshow piece going here, and well, thank you for having us. I'm gonna do a bit of an introduction orientation about how we've gone about our work, and then I've got two people with me, Barbara Meister, who is a mentor working with one of our cohort organizations, and a representative, the executive director of that cohort organization, Maria Elena Manso, who's here from Mujeres and Acción. I have to say, we still consider ourselves a young initiative. We started in December of 2021. So it's an honor to think that we can be an example of something. So we'll try and live up to that, and hopefully what we've been through will be helpful to you. I'm the project manager. I think it's worth noting that I am not an economic development professional. My background, I have a 45-year career basically in political and community organizing. So I approach this very much in the spirit of strengthening networks and strengthening organizations who represented disinvested communities who normally have not been a part of the economic development ecosystem. And so what I want to describe to you is the origins of SIEDI, a little bit about what it's about, and then eventually get to an action story involving Maria Elena and her work as a workforce development actor in that ecosystem. So why don't I start by talking a little bit about what you heard from Richard. We are fortunate to be in Salinas, which is one of the James Irvine Foundation priority communities. And SIEDI is a strong initiative that is a part of that. SIEDI, it's worth noting, these are the 9 cohort organizations that are members of SIEDI. I think the most important thing to note is that they were not selected because of any experience or expertise in economic development. They were selected because they have deep roots and connections in the community. And the theory of SIEDI, the theory of the case for change for SIEDI, is that everybody is I think the broad agreement that economic development efforts have not been as successful as elected officials, private sector, public sector, and community members would like in the Salinas Valley. And the theory of the case of SIEDI is that if the voices at the table change, perhaps the outcomes will change. So in other words, if we could identify these types of organizations with deep roots and connections in the community and increase their ability to participate in economic development decision-making, perhaps the outcomes would be different. So right away, I think you can see a connection to the SIERF effort, which came along several months after we had started this, and I considered it to be a godsend because it is really a proving ground of our theory. SIERF actually explicitly says that the goal of SIERF is to disrupt business as usual and when it comes to economic development planning. And so it's a perfect field of opportunity for an organization like SIEDI. And we've been happy to be a member of the High Road Table Collaborative in our area. And we are currently very involved in doing listening sessions and public outreach with SIERF. I want to come back a little bit later and talk a little bit about what we've learned about the challenges of this, but I just want to mention that SIERF is very much a test of our ability to prove the theory of the initiative, which is once again that these organizations who normally have not participated in economic development activities could be key to building inclusive economic development. So it's worth mentioning that we also are able and be supported by an advisory council of organizations. Some of you may be familiar with this. It's community college, a housing advocacy organization working in the digital equity space, childcare space, and then an Industrial Areas Foundation affiliated organization called COPA. It's worth mentioning also very valuable partners, Irvine Foundation, the Community Foundation, and a very, very important partner, the UC Santa Cruz Institute for Social Transformation, which is Dr. Chris Benner and his institute there, which has been a real key formative partner as we've grappled with trying to understand how our economy works. I want to touch on some of the aspects of what we've tried to do. I want to go back again to the idea that these were not organizations with a tremendous amount of expertise in economic development. So we challenged them together. We formulated a challenge. We needed to learn about our economy, how it benefits, or who it benefits and how it's structured, how can it be redesigned. And there we have worked closely with Dr. Chris Benner and have really adopted his framework of an inclusive economy based on something called solidarity economics. We've adopted that as a framework. And really, there's three major points about it that I think are important to understand for our discussion here today. Number one, unlike what we are sometimes taught, or as Chris is fond of saying, what we're indoctrinated to believe in economics training school, economic laws are not inexorable forces of nature that have been passed down from on high like the Ten Commandments, but indeed are decisions and policies shaped by humans. And it's important that whenever we talk about if it were something that we had no control over, but it's very important to talk about our economy and remember that it's shaped by human decisions, policies, preferences, allocation of resources, and that those are obtainable for all of us who want to participate in it. So that's number one. Secondly, also, unlike what we're taught, the driving motivation, the driving reality of a successful economy is not naked self-interest that everybody pursues willy-nilly without regard to other people, but is instead a real functioning and generative mutuality of interests that people learn to share with each other. And so we talk a lot about how that leads to an understanding of partnerships and relationships that people might not normally be inclined to have. And the third important thing about solidarity economics is the sobering reality that there are people who benefit from an economy that functions with inequality and inequity and lack of opportunity. And so social movements play an important part in moving our society and our politics along to the decisions it needs to make to overcome the forces who, quite frankly, don't want to change. So we've adopted solidarity economics, and we've tried to set ourselves up as a learning community. I love this idea that you're doing a summer of learning. Very much resonates with what we've tried to do with SIEDI. We have quarterly convenings, 8-hour convenings. People have gotten together and devoted an entire day quarterly, and we've done a lot of learning and grappling with our economy there. This second part is very important. The second goal is we asked each organization to explore their own ability to influence inclusive economic development. And here I want to touch on something that I think is important to understand about our connection to the CERF process and the ability of CERF to realize its very ambitious goal of not only developing an economy that's different, but a process of building an economy that's different that includes disinvested communities. the organizations in SIEDI have not only not often invested in economic development activities, but they've seen themselves and positioned themselves sometimes as hostile to those interests, and have sometimes not seen themselves as either welcome or wanting to be at certain tables. And so there's a bit of what I think is a bit of a conundrum in any SERF region trying to make sure that disinvested communities participate. The organizations that are critical to allowing us and you to do that, the ones with those deep roots and connections in the community, are not in the economic development ecosystem. They don't see themselves as partners of yours. They don't see them, the relationship networks are just not there. And so one of the things that we've really focused on is intentional knitting together of new relationships. We've brought private sector people in. We had a year-end meeting where we deliberately invited people that were somewhat different than the cohort organizations. And we asked people to go out and build new relationships. So this second part is we've asked organizations to be self-aware of what they need to do to change, repurpose, remission a little bit so that they can be players in the economic development ecosystem. And that's been interesting. The third thing I'll mention is we want to explore ways that each organization can act together. And that's going to transition me into letting Barbara and Maria Elena present their piece. I'll be the first to admit that we've spent most of our first 2 years in what I would call the formative culture building stage of this initiative, which is dealing with helping people think about their connection to our economy, think about their organizational ability to participate, address capacity questions, build new relationships. We are getting ready to hopefully be refunded by James Irvine Foundation for year 3 and 4. And we expect that we are going to be much more project oriented, focused and action focused than we have been in year 1 and 2. I do not at all want to give you the idea that I feel like we haven't, quote, done anything, because I think we've done some very, very important things to set the groundwork for important economic development activity on the part of these organizations. I'm just trying to make the point that from where we started with these organizations to where we need to end up, we need to just be honest about confronting a learning curve, a relationship building curve, and a time of what I would call formation and solidarity and coming together and helping each other enter these new spaces that they normally have not participated in. Having said that, one of the best action stories we have is the work of Mujeres en Acción, and I'm going to let Barbara Meister, the mentor to Mujeres en Acción, describe briefly that, and let Maria Elena tell her own story.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ken. Yeah, so my name is Barbara Meister, and my role with SIEDI is I serve as a mentor to Maria Elena, one of the 9 community-based organizations who are part of SIEDI. Each cohort organization has a mentor like myself. And when I was preparing for this talk with you, I was just thinking, okay, what should I say about my role? And basically the role of a mentor, as I see it, is to hold up a mirror for Maria Elena. The role of a mentor is to help others see what they don't necessarily see of themselves. Maria Elena is a woman with incredible strengths, with deep knowledge of her community, been an active community leader, community organizer for over 20 years. She brings with her just deep knowledge of the barriers, the problems, the strengths, the dreams of the people that live in Salinas and the Salinas Valley, and in particularly Latina women, which is the focus of her organization. So my role as mentor has been to help her look for opportunities where she can apply her instincts and knowledge. And the other role I see as a mentor is to help her to understand and navigate those economic development spaces. I myself have had 20 some years of experience, both in community organizing, but also in government relations, community relations. I've been in those spaces that Ken describes that are not necessarily ones that Maria Elena and others see themselves in. So I'll start the story and then I'll pitch it to Maria Elena to add to it. So almost a year ago, August, Ken, as part of our SIEDI, received a flyer for an apprenticeship program that was constructed also with money from the Irvine Foundation. 18 positions open at Joby Aviation, which is a new company building electric or vertical takeoff airplanes, air taxis, and they're doing it in Marina. The founder of this company is in Santa Cruz, just up the road. And so this apprenticeship program, they're looking for workers to help build this plane. The flyer came across my screen. I pop it over to Maria Elena. Maria Elena, this is an opportunity. She is looking for earn while you learn opportunities for her women who've developed great experience through an earn while you learn model of community health workers during the pandemic. So now she's looking for new opportunities. I said, check this out. And so Maria Elena, I'm gonna let you take it from there.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm Maria, like I said, I'm the program, I'm the director for Mujeres en Acción. And just so you know, Mujeres en Acción has two focus, which is help women become economically self-sufficient and develop their leadership so they can change the things that affect their families. So this was economic development is right up our alley. So after Barbara talked to me, I was thinking, oh, I have a lot of experience dealing with politics and to make changes, but I have never dealt with a company that is producing jobs. And so it was a little out of my comfort zone, but I took the challenge. And we of course, when we learn about Joby and the opportunity, we spread the word and we let the community, the Mujeres, know that they were looking for people for this apprenticeship jobs. And so, and at the same time, we scheduled a meeting with Joby. And so when we got to the meeting, and the first thing that they said is, we're so happy to meet you. From the 200 applications that we received, the majority came from Mujeres en Acción. So, and we already identified 3 people that are gonna be part of the apprenticeship program. And that's thanks to you. So how can we work together? And so it was really a great experience, because this is the part where I feel this is, I mean, really happily surprised that this has been a partnership, a real partnership. They're not calling me just whenever they need, but I became part of the meetings and figuring out what needs to happen, how the language for hiring needs to change, how they should be looking at the lived experience of the people that live in our community, and how can they address the workforce in a way that they feel welcome and that they know that they belong in those jobs that maybe didn't even cross their mind that they were able to do. So we've been working with them. The first thing was we got invited to be part of a panel from a symposium, and so we could show the way of this collaboration. We have been working tireless to bring to bring an expansion to the Monterey County, and their job is trying to see if how they expand. And we've been key to bring connections that we had with the center for over 20 years, and just making sure that we're at the center of all this. And we have had, every time that the job needs something, there was an internship. They call on Mujeres. We have an internship program. Can you connect us with people? We have the workforce. We know the community. We know the people that will be a good fit for these jobs. We had a presentation that we're looking for they had 8 positions open at Joby, and they said, can we do a presentation for Mujeres? We had 94 people attend those presentations, and the community is learning that they are able to apply for these jobs. It's not something foreign. Everybody will think, talking to the three people that got hired by Joby with the apprenticeship program, I was asking them, how do you feel? And I would have never thought that this was a job for me. And now I passed apprenticeship, I'm hired directly with Joby, and this is a well-paying job opportunity, and with also the opportunity to grow. And so this is what's been happening. So I'm thrilled of the work we've been doing, and it's something completely different. And it's, attending this meeting with everybody brings their own expertise, and realizing that, like Barbara said, this was not my space where I feel comfortable, but I'm learning that I have something to offer. I have the connection with the workforce that this jobs requires. So if we really want to have an inclusive economy, we all need to partner.
If I could add to a couple of things that Marilena brought up. So that idea of solidarity economics that Chris Benner has been shared with you all and with us, the idea of mutuality. So when I sent that flyer to Marilena and she sent it out to her women and got such a strong response, then I said to her, okay, we need to meet these folks. Let's do a meeting with Pete Church and the Joby recruiters. That's when they recognized, like, wow, we do need to meet with her because she's a force. She's a force out there in the community. And when Marilena and I prepped for that meeting, I borrowed what Ken had said. It's like, Marilena, you need to go into that meeting with the mentality that this is mutuality. This is solidarity economics. Joby needs jobs. You have workers. You, Marilena, are the solution to their problem. And with that, just helping Marilena to see that, yeah, she belongs in that space. And she has, as she just articulated, something really critical to offer. And it is an incredible relationship that is evolving. And this is just with one company. Salinas Valley is sort of busting loose with more robotic applications in agriculture. And so from this experience, with this company, we're going to learn from it and apply that to other particular potential and emerging companies. But it's back to that point that Ken said, these are new spaces for Marilena and her colleagues. But SIEDI's role there is to give them that capacity, but also help them to navigate and do some coaching to learn in those spaces. And for Joby has been affected by that relationship, as Marilena explained. Marilena has taught them to recognize that, no, you can't expect a traditional resume in response to their job applications. And what they've learned is they got to look for the people with the skills that are transferable to building airplanes. So Marilena, correct me if I'm wrong, but of those three that came from your Mujeres and Acción families, one was a butcher, cutting meat, so doing a process. The other was an auto mechanic. And the other, I think, was working in an auto parts store, but building his own car on his own time at home. So his talent wasn't even being utilized, but it's those same processes and skills. If Joby was asking about their lived experience, then transferring those lived experiences into the kind of jobs and skills that they needed there. And then, of course, they were going to be able to train them because this is all new technology. These jobs don't exist. But what Marilena brings is the talent, the motivation, the drive, the hunger to do something important and contribute to this company, but in turn contributing to bettering their own lives with a much better paying job and a career pathway. So I said a lot in there, but is there anything else to unpack, Ken?
Well, I just think in conclusion, I think that where we see ourselves in the economic development ecosystem is we think this story contains a lot of truth in it that we have demonstrated, which is that when an employer, a private sector employer, really invests in building relationships with community organizations, and when community organizations take on new roles, such as in this case, we can be a labor market intermediary. We can broker between a private sector employer and our community. That's a new role. When Joby says we're going to go directly to the community, we're not going to work through the Workforce Investment Board, we're not going to go through all the bureaucracy, we're going to go directly to the community organizations. That's a new relationship. So I think we want to take this and run with it as best as we can. And I think it's directly relevant to those SERF regions I'll say it again, if you really want to build inclusive economic development, you have to be talking to those organizations who can make sure that the disinvested community's voice is really a full partner. And thanks to the Irvine Foundation, thanks to the Community Foundation for Monterey County, we have the platform to do that. And I'm looking forward to the next 2 years with SIEDI, and we're happy to be here today with you. So I think we were supposed to allow time for questions, and if there are any, we'll try and answer them. And if not, it's been great to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much, all of you. This has been absolutely fantastic to hear just a little bit about your journey and the work that you're doing. And there's so many takeaways that have come up for me as I've been listening to you. Maybe I'll ask one question to you. What advice do you have for us when we're thinking about outreaching residents and those who have not been included in the past? And what do you think would be needed in terms of how to keep people involved long term and really create that sense of buy-in and ownership?
I'm gonna let Maria Elena answer that.
Yeah, for that,
Give
I
some
think
advice, Maria Elena.
for that, I think that you have to rely on the organization that have been working with the community already. And that's our experience. It's hard for somebody to come in and reach out if you don't have the connection. And how do you keep them involved? If they're working on their own, on their self-interest, that will give them, we get asked that a lot of questions. We have meetings, we have trainings, and we show up with a lot of women, and they say, how do you do it? Do you pay them? It's like, no, they want to change their lives. They want to change their future. So if we're giving them the opportunity and they learn that their voice is really heard, that their voice is important, that they need to be sitting at the table where decisions are being made for their lives, then they come.
That's great. Well, I really thank you so much. This has been so valuable for our coalition, and there's so much learning here for us. Some of the takeaways that I'm hearing, first, I'm really struck by the deep cultural work that you're doing and how much needs to be invested in that and the time that goes into that. I think the mentorship model, I had not seen that before or heard that before. That's really exciting to see kind of that relationship. And then I think also that recognizing and building strengths that exist in the region or that exist in communities and really genuinely creating value together. So not easy work. I am certainly daunted thinking about trying to apply these lessons to our region, but I really appreciate you bringing it to us, and a lot for all of us to think about. So thank you so much.
Yeah, okay.
All right. We're going to keep rolling in our agenda now to our next piece. And I know that we have some slides to go with that as well. So I'll give that a minute to come up. Okay, all right. Well, the next part of our agenda is I want to give you a sense of the continued progress that's been happening as part of the program so far, and part of our kind of early efforts to kind of put the pieces in place to be an effective backbone organization. And I think that as we go through this process, it's really important that we're sharing with transparency, and we're putting out continuous communication, both through these meetings, through newsletters, through our website, and then through really more applied engagement and working together moving into the future. But I do want to provide just a brief overview of kind of where we've been, and I'll start with going back to kind of that April-May time period. So we brought together a group of about 20 launch committee members to really inform the development of the process, including kind of our operating processes, our procedures, our structure. From there, we've worked on developing the kind of using the engagement that we had done as part of the application period and working with this committee, developing the Capital Region SERF structure. We worked with an ad hoc committee to kind of start that conversation on developing shared language around equity, inclusion, and disinvested communities, with the idea that we'll bring that to our sub-regional tables, and we'll keep kind of working that through as this process moves forward. through June to August, we've been really working on putting some partnerships in place, and you're going to hear from some of those folks here in a minute, but that has included our lead research partner, our lead communications partner, our sub-regional partners, in addition to doing this collective learning session, continuing to build out our collaborative, doing one-on-ones, really trying to stay engaged. And then moving into the fall, for our part, we're going to work on seating the Leadership Council. I'm going to tell you more about that, and we're going to start getting kind of down to brass tacks and bringing our subregions together and really starting this kind of on the ground work that hasn't emerged quite yet. All right. And so with that, I'm really excited to introduce our Capital Region CERF subregion hubs. This has been a big focus of our attention over the last couple months of really bringing in these partners who can help us develop these on the ground strategies and kind of do some of that foundational work of developing across our 8-county region. So I'm going to invite people to introduce themselves as we kind of go through the subregions that we've identified. And I'll also note that we've brought on our communication research and governance partners. That includes Cities GPS, which is a Brookings Institution affiliated organization, a communication firm called Rally, and then Community Strong Strategies, who you've already heard from today. But to go into our sub-regional hubs, I want to start with our Tahoe, Nevada subregion. So that includes the Tahoe Basin as well as Nevada County. And I'll start with Gil Matthew, who's here from the Nevada County Economic Resource Council. Oh, and you're on mute.
Hi, thank you, Evan, for that. Interesting program today. I learned a lot on that one. We are now underway with the project. It looks exciting, at the same time a bit daunting. There are a tremendous amount of people that we need to touch and engage in the process, and we have begun that process. I don't know whether Heidi's on here or not. She can speak to the Tahoe portion of that.
Derek's on. He could probably do that.
Okay, Derek. Guess he's not there. Anyway, what more would you like for me to pontificate on? I can talk for hours on economic development, but the notion of solidarity economics is a new key feature that hasn't been around the economic development world all that long. So I'm pretty excited about how we can develop that notion within the Tahoe, Nevada region. We have a tremendous distance that we have to cross in this, some 80 miles or so. And so gathering those people together is going to have some bit of a challenge on that, but we look forward to it. Oh, there's Derek.
Thank you, Gil. And so Gil's here from Nevada County, and we have Derek Martin here in the Tahoe area from the Tahoe Prosperity Center. Derek, you want to say a few words?
Just hello to everybody, and I wanted to echo the sentiments that Gil said, that we did learn a lot in the presentation, and we have a lot of initiatives already underway. We're lucky enough to have started some of these ahead of time, and we're looking forward to continuing these with the group.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. I'll move on to the El Dorado Placer County area, and we have Kristen York from the Sierra Business Council. Hey, Kristen.
Hi, how are you? Great. We're very excited to be involved. We'll be working a little bit with Gil and Derek as well for Nevada County, but I have with Jess Carr as well. So our key partners we're really relying on the boots on the ground community foundations, both Placer and El Dorado, that we've worked with a number of times during the whole COVID situation, but their network of disinvested community leaders and organizations is untouched, I would say, in the region. So they're two key partners, as well as the Growth Factory in Rockland. Both the economic development departments from both counties are very involved, then Sierra College, and then through our SBDC, I'll let Jess speak to that. She is the director, but essentially all of the chambers, workforce development boards, and Women's Business Center. But Jess, you want to talk a little bit about your relationships directly in the counties?
Sure. So I'm Jess Carr. I'm the director of the Sierra Small Business Development Center at Sierra Business Council, which is a mouthful, but we are looking forward. So we do cover Placer and El Dorado County already with those services. So we're looking forward to both leveraging our existing strong relationships in the sort of traditional economic development world, and then also incorporating all of the new voices who we haven't heard from before and learning about all of the different projects that we have in our territory already that we would like to bring to the forefront.
I'll just add, Sierra Business Council is the convener for the Eastern Sierra. We have a whole different team on that. But one thing we've learned, the most important thing is particularly for the disinvested communities, is meeting them where they are. So we're doing a lot of focus groups on the ground, not having people come to us, but we're going to them, and that's been really successful.
Awesome. Thank you so much to both of you. I'm going to keep moving around the region and next go to Yuba Sutter as well as Sacramento YOLO, and welcome Kiara Reed from Civic Thread.
Hi, everyone. Kiara Reed with Civic Thread. For those of you who don't know us, we're a nonprofit planning and advocacy organization and have done work in the 6-county region. A lot of our work is Safe Routes to School, where we've worked in both Yuba, YOLO, and Sacramento. Really excited about this opportunity. We're going to be leaning on some of our really strong partners in the Yuba Sutter region to help facilitate the CERF sub-regional planning table there. We'll be working with Center for Workers' Rights, Everyday Impact Consulting, and Yuba Sutter Economic Development Corporation, really helping to further the work of the Economic Development Corporation and Ground Truth, some of their findings with the community voices that we tend to engage with in that region. And then moving on to the Sacramento YOLO region, we've got a joint effort, so I know I'll pass it over to another partner here, but on the Civic Thread side, we'll be teaming up with Sacramento Building Healthy Communities. Kim Williams, I think, is here on the call, in addition to, again, Everyday Impact Consulting and the Black Artist Foundry, for which I'm a board member, and really wanting to bring creatives into that space so that we can really think about economic development in terms of creative and inclusive economic development. So again, just really excited to be leading that work with those partners and our friends over at the Cal Asian Chamber.
Yes, thank you. Yep, go ahead, Annette.
Thanks, Kiara. Thanks, Evan. I am honored to represent the Sacramento Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce as a sub-regional partner with Civic Thread. We're excited to embark on this journey with all of you and are privileged to have their expertise as our partner. We will also partner with other community-based organizations that are at the forefront of business, economic development, and workforce initiatives in Sacramento and YOLO. While we don't yet have a date for our inaugural convening, we're working on it. We're meeting next week to talk about it. We are confident that it'll be an event that is the beginning of something transformative in our area. And we look forward to making a difference with all of you in this work.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to have all of you. And our remaining county is Colusa County as one of our sub-regions, and we are still in progress of bringing in a sub-regional convener. But I'm happy that Greg Plucker is here in attendance. He's representing Colusa County and has been really instrumental in helping us kind of navigate that space. I know that that was a great introduction from everybody. I'm really excited about advancing that work. I am expecting that we're going to have meetings across all of our subregions in the month of September, and those are open to all who are in the coalition. So really encourage people to get engaged in those. We will be communicating the dates, the times, all of the information about that, and really starting to get into that work together. I also know that just like Valley Vision, all of our subregional partners are actively building new relationships and looking to continue to build new partnerships and relationships as we do this work together. And I know there's a lot more of that to come. So I'm really excited for every piece of that. And let's see, I want to talk about a couple of important updates. Then the first one is here on the Leadership Council. So we've been emphasizing the pathway to our work is really these subregions, right? We have a huge 8-county region. We need to kind of break this up into subregions so that we can surface the assets, the strengths, the challenges, and start to really work on those local strategies. It is also important that we have a plan that is knit together at the regional level. And that's kind of where this leadership council comes in. So we are kind of putting the bones together to kick off the leadership council. So this is really a diverse and representative body, so representative of the coalition as a whole, with representatives from across our 8-county region and those who represent disinvested communities, as well as some of the key partnership groups that have been identified as part of the program. So that includes folks like community-based organizations, labor, those in the climate world, those in the workforce world, and a number of other types of community partners that we know we need to bring in. We've identified in our application that the Leadership Council would be up to 36 members, and it has come time to bring this group together. And we really wanted to do this after the sub-regional tables have started to form, because we wanted to give a little bit of time so that those potential members could kind of surface from the sub-regional level. And one thing I want to really acknowledge is the crunch timeline on some of these things. And this is kind of just how the program, how the planning phase is. It's a 1-year timeline that we have, and we're kind of moving through the steps as quickly as we can. So in an ideal world, we would have more time to do all these things, but we are, addressing the world as it is. So we're going to open up nominations for the Leadership Council on September 1st. Anybody who's a member of the coalition is invited and welcome to apply. So you can self-nominate or you can nominate others. It's going to be a relatively short time frame, so we're going to close that on September 22nd. And coming at the end of September to late November, there'll be the review and selection process. And then by late October, we'll be really looking to seat the Leadership Council. I really do want to invite everybody to tune into that process. We will be doing as much outreach as we possibly can so that everyone understands both the process and the opportunity within the time frame that we've noted here, and looking forward to putting together this leadership body that is regional in scope and can help us really shape the roadmap in a way that articulates the priorities of the subregions, but also knits things together where it's appropriate. And so that's a little bit about the Leadership Council. And I want to also give you an update about, this is kind of the state level update about the SERF program, and that is about the Catalyst Fund, which is, I think, on the next slide. And I'm going to actually pass it to our new project leader in the SERF space, Martessa, and ask you to provide us this update and more. And we're really happy to, maybe people are meeting you for the first time, but Martessa has come in the last month or so, and it has jumped right into the SERF program. So Martessa, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Evan. Good afternoon, everyone. As Evan mentioned, my name is Maritessa Bravo-Ares, and I joined Valley Vision about a month ago. And it's been a really exciting time learning about SERF, meeting community members, and working with the Valley Vision team. So I wanted to share some really exciting news. Yesterday, the state interagency team released a Catalyst Fund update. This is hot off the presses. The updated guidelines will actually be released to the general public tomorrow, but we are given permission from the state to share this information with you all today. So to take a look at what has been changed, I created the slide for you all. So per region, each region will be receiving $14 million to bridge inclusive economic planning and project and program implementation. So this includes up to $2 million for collaborative operations, up to $1.5 million towards sector investment coordinators, up to $9 million for project pre-development activities, and up to $1.5 million towards grant administration and compliance. This means that there's going to be about $268 million statewide that will be available for project implementation. As I mentioned, the state interagency team shared this information with participants in the Communities of Practice meeting yesterday. Valley Vision will continue to share more information as soon as we receive it, and we're looking forward to engaging conversations with you all. I think we can move on to the next slide. So I have a couple announcements to share with everyone. We will have capacity assistance funding that will be available for participants. So the process and forms will be available on September 1st. The stipends are going to be available to all collaborative members as long as the budget is available. I'm excited to share this really cool upcoming event that's happening on Monday, October 30th in Sacramento. It will be Valley Vision's second annual Livability Summit. The Livability Summit, we hope, will inspire regional unity and collaborative idea generation. And during the summit, there will be a special session focused on SIERF. So it'll be a great way for collaborative members to get to know each other, meet each other, and share ideas. And then looking over the next couple of months, as Evan has mentioned, we are going to have regional tables and September kickoff meetings. We will have fall community engagement sessions. We'll be releasing the Leadership Council nominations form next month. And with our partners at Brookings, Cities GPS, there will be additional research and analysis that we are excited to share with you all. I also, next slide, please. I also wanted to thank folks for completing our Capital Region survey. There is still time to complete the survey, so feel free to click on you can use your camera and you can go to the specific link and fill out the survey. We greatly appreciate your feedback. Next slide. And this is the link to the Livability Summit. We encourage everyone in the collaborative to participate and join. And there'll be additional information that we'll send out through the SIERF e-newsletter. And now I'm going to pass it over to Evan. Thank you.
Thank you, Maritessa. Great updates. And I'm seeing a question in the chat about the Catalyst Fund. And maybe if we could go back to that slide really quickly, and I'll try to address. So in our July meeting, we did have some state representatives come and talk about their draft guidance around the Catalyst Fund. And in that, in that program, they had some draft numbers around it. They went through a period of community input, and they're coming back with new numbers to reflect kind of the feedback that they heard. Ultimately, they have reduced a bit the number or the amount, the funding that's being allocated per region, but they have increased the amount of regions statewide available for project implementation. So I think they've been kind of working to find that right balance between the capacity work and the program development, the project development work that needs to happen in the regions, and then still making sure there's a large enough fund to support implementation. So that's been kind of the work of kind of the changes that they've made and how we've landed where we are now. They are just, this is brand new information. They're going to come out tomorrow, I believe, with the more publicly with this guidance. So we'll have the chance as a coalition to jump in a little bit deeper and learn more about what's behind some of these numbers and how we might deploy it to the best effect for this region. Okay, let's keep advancing through, and we're getting really close to the end of our program, and we're gonna, I think, give you some time back. On the survey, actually, I did have a couple comments on the survey because in July, I put it out there to the coalition that we're trying to get 100% response rate on our capital region survey. I heard that we're at 66%. So we're almost there. We're doing great. And if I think we should keep pushing. So if you haven't taken the survey yet, please do. It's not too onerous, and it's giving us great information about kind of what are the assets and challenges that are out there right now. And it's going to be a good place for our sub-regional tables to a good starting place for all of us. And it will come through, it will revisit it, those tables as well as a SWOT analysis. So really being able to dive in on kind of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Next slide, please.
Yeah, Evan, we actually have one more question.
Oh, yeah.
In the Q&A. So Cher is asking, what does it mean to be a leader on the Leadership Council?
Thank you. Yes. It means that you're representing the coalition in a decision-making capacity as we advance the economic roadmap. So as the sub-regional tables kind of move through the process of reviewing the research, doing community engagement, doing a process towards looking at what are some of the priority projects per subregion. As we knit all that together, some of those decisions will come up into the collaborative as a whole, as well as the Leadership Council, and those on the Leadership Council will have a chance to weigh in and help direct where those priorities are going. So it's a deeper engagement with the SERF program and an opportunity to help shape the economic roadmap. All right, we see contact information here. I want to also emphasize our excitement about the Livability Summit. It's Valley Vision's annual event. It's going to be on October 30th. And we're really integrating SERF into it very strongly. We're offering free tickets to everybody who's in our SERF coalition. We're going to send out the code to you all via email. So check out the website. Don't register yet. Wait until you get the free ticket code. And it's going to be a great event. It's really grounded in real data about quality of life in our region. So that's both kind of quantitative data, but also data from our public opinion poll that talks about what are the things that matter most to people right now when they think about quality of life in their communities. So we have answers in there about access to basic needs and other amenities. We have a lot about affordability. We've asked a lot of questions that I think are very central to this initiative, and we're really looking at the event from the lens of inclusive economics and economic equity. So that's going to be a major theme, and there's going to be a lot of SERF tie-in. So really excited about that. So with that, I'm going to wrap up our program. You can see the contact information on the screen. Of course, as always, we will share all of the resources. Really appreciate everybody's time today and your engagement in this initiative. And we are so excited to do this work with you. So have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.